right, well, Paddy Pimblett riding a 5-fight win streak. 11 of those wins are in the first round. Anthony, he's got a lot of hype behind him, but he has to win to keep this going.
He does have to win. Paddy has a delusional belief in himself. He has no reason to believe that he's capable of doing those things. There's no evidence that he should be able to do that, but I think that that's his secret weapon. He comes out super aggressive, and he can do that because he's not worried about the takedown. He's not worried about ending up on his back because he has the belief that no matter who's on top of him, he can get back to his feet or find himself in the top position. But if he wants this quote-unquote hype train to continue, he has to continue winning, and it's got to be a progression. As he goes on, these opponents have to continue to get better, and that's what Jared Gordon is.
5 consecutive wins and 11 first-round finishes is why I believe Paddy Pimblett believes so much in himself. When you got that kind of streak going, your confidence is through the roof. There is literally nobody on earth that can beat you when you see that about yourself. So when I see this matchup, he has no doubts in himself versus Jared Gordon. When you look at the Jared Gordon fight, you don't look at that and say, wow, he's got so many tools that are so much better than me. This is a good competitive matchup when you look at styles. So I think Paddy's just confident, gets to stay where it's at because of that. If it was like a guy who's 100-0 or something, he might have a little bit different thoughts, but he's not getting matched up that way. He never has, probably never will until he gets to the top 5. But once you get to the top 5, all the games are over.
Can't avoid it. Dominic, going off of something you sort of mentioned here, a lot of times when people have the confidence and they have, the hype behind them, as long as they're in good positions, they do well. But we talk about the hammer and the nail in this sport. When you look at this particular matchup between Paddy and Jared, do you think that one can persevere more being the nail and get back to being the hammer through this matchup? And does it matter?
I think what you're saying always makes sense in a fight. When you're rising up the ladder, you've got to find a time in your career where you're ready to be a nail, because you're never going to always be a hammer in the fight game. But when you look at Paddy, he has weathered some storms. Early in his career against Luigi, he got rocked heavy with a big shot in that round. He came back and finished that man with a big, heavy shot himself. So he has been challenged. Now it's been early in the fight is what we've seen. He hasn't been challenged late in the fight. So I think these matchups that are happening are to build Paddy into the champion that everybody believes he could be. And these matchups against a Jared Gordon really will test those things to see as he rises up the ladder. I look at it like a lot of times with a guy like Paddy, the UFC's building them with each of these matchups to be one of the best in the division. Similar to Sean O'Malley. Like, they gave him fights and he's gotten better and better and better and risen to the occasion. It's kind of like a building thing. And I see these guys being built up well. And it's not because they're easy matchups. It's because they're competitive matchups.
Well, it's absolutely competitive. I think that Jared Gordon is a fantastic test for him, because if Jared Gordon ends up with a dominant position, if he ends up on his back, if you can get him into a half guard or a side control or something, I think that he can hold that position long enough to force Paddy to not be able to scramble back to his feet and maybe use his pure athleticism and his size to just scramble to his feet like we've seen him do. I think that Jared Gordon can put him in bad spots and keep him there and force him to work through that.
Well, Jared Gordon talked about all that he has endured throughout his personal life to get here. And he said, listen, nobody's going to make me quit, and nobody's going to be a harder out than I am. So he is looking to stop that hype train.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.